I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking about the shocking reason behind most breakups. We're going to go to the deep end of the pool today,
Come
so
take a swim.
prepare yourself. We often talk about on the channel, we talk about the shallow end of the pool, we talk about the deep end of the pool, and what we're referring to a lot of times is the internal things, the unconscious things that we do versus maybe, the shallow end is you just doing a specific behavior, right? So we're going to explore some really deep reasons why people break up, and you gotta pay close attention because it's going to get a little technical here.
Right.
We got all kinds of terms coming your way.
Right. And that's the first thing I want to say is I apologize for all the different terms, but when you do research in this subject, it happens. So we're going to talk about differentiation, individuation, and separating from family. And the terms are used pretty much interchangeably, so I don't want to be confusing. But I'm going to quote some people who use the terms slightly differently.
And you're going to, of course, explain why we're talking about this.
Yes, I am. And it goes back to the theme of the last thing I had to say to you, which is, again, having to complete the stage of figuring out your identity before you can do intimacy really well.
Okay, so Margaret, you've got some research here.
Yes, I do.
And you're ultimately going to be explaining how if somebody hasn't really gone through those developmental stages of growth and experience in their life, that they're not going to be ready to do intimacy and a long-term connection, right?
Exactly.
So just want to give a little overview so they kind of get where we're going with this.
Okay, good. Now, this is an article, and the woman, her name is Monica Parikh, who asked her friend, Amy Hartstein, LCSW. Now, Amy Hartstein had been a couples therapist for 20 years. So Monica asked her, what is the biggest, most common problem you see in your practice? Okay? And she said, over and over, I see clients who didn't individuate from their family of origin. Until a person has individuated, it is nearly impossible for them to have a healthy romantic relationship.
And you better listen up. This is important stuff here.
It's extremely important, or I wouldn't be saying this much of it, I assure you. Okay, so we're again back to Erickson's stage 5 and stage 6. 6 being intimacy and stage 5 being trying to figure out your identity. As we grow from children to adults, we first separate and then individuate from our family of origin. Separation entails moving away, starting a career, and setting up a home. Individuation is the process by which we grow into our own authentic self. And there's an awful lot of talk around these days about you have to be your authentic self. Okay? Now, what in heaven's name does that mean? Individuation creates boundaries. As a relationship therapist, I have seen the devastation that happens when individuals do not individuate from their family of origin. Some examples. A man will prioritize his mother's opinions at the expense of his wife's feelings. Okay, so he hasn't made the transition from being a kid in a family to being an independent adult. All right?
Yeah, it could be very tricky, but you have to make your partner the priority.
Well, yeah, we're going to get to that. Yes, absolutely.
And I'm really glad that they made the distinction between separation and individuation.
Yes.
Because you could live right next door from your parents and be individuated, Or you could live across the country and
Right.
not be.
That's exactly right. Yeah. The geographical cure doesn't work. It's an internal process. Yeah. Good. Okay, so a woman will marry a man to avoid her family's disapproval over the fact that she is gay. Okay? A man will abandon the love of his life rather than stand up to his family's prejudice about her religion or ethnicity.
And we see both of those.
We see both of those all of the time. So if you're still making decisions around what will make your family happy, you have not yet separated, well, you certainly haven't individuated, okay? And we see it daily, and I thank this woman for being so clear about it after her 20 years of couples work. And she didn't hesitate in coming up with the answer, all right? Individuation creates boundaries. In enmeshed families, now that's a family that's kind of stuck together, okay? In an enmeshed family, it may be impossible to know whether you're living your own life or simply pleasing everyone around you. Okay, that's sort of like we all believe the same thing because it makes us feel as one. Okay? And if you don't believe the same things, then you've got to do something about it. Boundaries communicate, this is what I believe. Individuation creates a well-established line in the sand. I will marry the lady from Pakistan if I want. Okay? Individuation allows you to build a life that is in line with your values and dreams, one that may be wildly different from your family's.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you announce that you want to marry the lady from Pakistan, your family may be all upset. And if you're truly individuated, you're concerned about that. You try to be helpful to your family being so upset, but you have to make your own decision. Okay? You can't give up the love of your life if that's your decision. Okay?
And there is a big cultural component to it. There are more cultures that are individualistic, and there's some cultures that are more collectivist. So for those that are more collectivist, this might be more of a struggle to let the offspring go.
Yes, yeah, that's absolutely true, and thank you for pointing that out. Yeah.
Yeah, we see that often.
Often. Yeah.
Often.
Yes.
And how many times have you seen, Margaret, a guy, he loves the girlfriend, but the mother doesn't want him to be with her because of maybe she's a different religion or something like that.
Right.
So he breaks up with the girl that he loves to marry somebody else, and then he's miserable.
Of course.
And he wants to keep the ex who he broke up with in the background.
That's right.
Oh, and hanging her on, keeping her hanging on to hope, but will never really leave the wife. Unless, of course, he individuates.
But, and the thing is that families, not meaning to be destructive, I don't think families usually mean to be destructive, but they can guilt trip you. There are all kinds of things they can do to make it difficult for you to make your own decision. Okay?
Yeah, they'll threaten to not talk to you
disown
anymore.
you, to leave the money to your dog, to,
Yeah.
right, all kinds
Yeah.
of things. We'll disown you, yeah. Well, unfortunately, you do what you feel like you have to do. I'm still going to marry the lady from Pakistan,
Even if you leave the money to the dog.
even if you leave the money to the dog, right? Okay, so
That's
you have,
rough.
oh, that was a terrible pun. Grr.
You're barking up the wrong tree, Margaret.
I'm already wagging my tail again. To live the life that makes you happy, one that
Vicky's like, what have I gotten myself into?
one that makes your heart sing, you may have to step off your family's familiar path. And there's nothing harder to do. Okay? Individuation is here's a big one. Individuation is shifting of allegiance. It is not a betrayal, but a choice for a healthy future. Your romantic partner or spouse must become your top priority.
That's key.
It's absolutely key.
This is what we're saying is one of the biggest reasons
Absolutely.
there's a breakup.
With this person, you're going to make all major life decisions. Many people see their parents as their best friends. They want this relationship to continue unimpeded, even after they marry or make a commitment. Once you marry or commit to a serious relationship, however, Your partner must be your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else is a recipe for disaster. And this, of course, all of this, of course, can put a tremendous strain on a relationship. It's hard for family to let people go. And that's human and understandable and okay. They've raised you for 18 years, and if you go off, it's hard for them to let you go. They experience it as a major loss, okay? But they still have to let you go, okay? But it's hard, and that's understandable. But if they love you, they're going to have to accept you even when you become your own person, okay?
Yep.
This shifting of allegiance is not an abandonment of the family of origin. Both relationships can exist harmoniously as long as the family of origin allows for growth and inclusion of new members, and as long as you insist upon it.
That's the thing.
And that's not, it's the hardest job we have in life, I think.
But you have to be able to tell your parents, look, this person treats me well, I'm happy, they make me happy, and I love them. And I love you guys as well, and I want you to do your best.
And that's not going to change?
To include this person into our life or my life, and if you don't want to, then it's going to mean you're going to spend a lot less time with me.
Right.
And I think this is particularly hard for bicultural people. Like
Absolutely.
Latin Americans, Asian Americans, because you're stuck between two cultures. So you might be raised in America with this individualistic culture and then have a family who's more collectivist. So it's really this struggle between how can I be my own person, but then also fit to what my culture subscribes for me to be.
And you don't want to give it up, of course. And I think it's very, very American thinking, even though Erickson came originally from Europe. Eric Erickson did. I think it's...
And his father, Eric,
and the grandfather.
Eric, and Eric's son.
Yeah. So I mean, some of these ideas were European, but I think it fits a lot with the whole concept of American individualism. We can all be our own people. We can be independent. We can take care of ourselves. Okay. But some families have a terribly difficult time, and part of it has to do with the health of the family. And I think the healthier the family, the easier it is to separate. Okay? And unfortunately, there are some families where the children meet the parents' needs and have all the time they were growing up. And if that's the case, it's extremely difficult for a family to let you go.
Yeah. But ultimately, you need to be with somebody who is going to make you and your family that you're creating with them, if you have kids with them, the priority. You don't want them to neglect their family, of course, but you need to incorporate.
Right.
But ultimately, your priority needs to be on your partner.
Right.
Just like your parents made their partner the priority in order to have a healthy relationship.
And if what you want for your life is in line or happens to be in line with what your parents also want, then as long as it's your decision, then that's perfectly fine.
Right. And I'm going to say a little more about that sort of thing later. But reasonable people can disagree. Okay? But unfortunately, some families can get destructive around this process.
Yeah.
And, you know, for all I've heard the threats of we'll disown you, we'll never talk to you again, I have never, ever seen it happen.
And that's what I was just going to ask you.
Okay, I've never, ever seen it happen. Once that first grandchild is born, the parents are going to be on your doorstep. Now that can lead to a whole other round of differentiating, I might add, because grandparents, wherever they're from, are going to have their ideas about how to raise a child. And you may have to set limits and boundaries all over again.
Yes.
To say, we want you to have contact with your grandchildren, etc. But you're going to have to support the way we're raising the children.
Yeah.
You know, and some of the worst boundary violations I have ever seen have happened with grandparents, grandchildren, and parents.
Yeah.
So this is a lifelong, huge deal. That you want to keep your family, but you have to be very clear where the line in the sand is. Okay?
you really got to be aware of how this may have interfered with your relationship or caused your breakup.
Yep.
It happens a lot more than you realize.
And I was just thinking out loud earlier today that many of the things we hear really point to that. You'll hear something, we've been together 3 or 4 months, everything was going great, and then all of a sudden the other person started to pull away, saying that they weren't sure what they want, they weren't sure about the relationship, they were unsure about a whole lot of things, and they need time and space to think it over and figure it out. And Coach Victoria, you made an interesting observation about people thinking about the future.
Yeah.
Could you say it again?
Sure. I just made a comment about how many exes will say, I'm not ready for a relationship right now, but maybe in the future we can get together. And so my idea was that they were thinking, okay, I'm not in this stage of differentiation or individuation, or I'm not separated from my family to that extent now, but I expect to be as I develop in the future.
Right.
Although I don't know if they're thinking that
They're not.
consciously.
They probably
I was going
not.
to say it's not conscious, but
Right.
it's an acknowledgement of the real issue, even
Yeah.
though they don't have the exact words for it. And it can get tricky because are you supposed to put your life on hold until they figure this out?
Yeah.
But it is, as I say, possible to do it together. It can be done. I don't see it done very often, but it can be done, where people work on the same issues together. All right. This is, I'm going to say it again, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest job we have in life. And I was going to mention it later, but I'll mention it now. You know the cafeteria plan? The cafeteria plan is you go down the line and you take the things that you want. Now, as you begin to do this process and you look at how you were brought up, it's perfectly okay to do the cafeteria plan. There are things that you learned in your family that you absolutely want to hold on to and take with you into the future. There are other things that you want to leave there for the next person who comes down the line.
Yep.
Okay?
And you get to make that choice.
And you get to make that choice. And that's the thing. It's your choice. Adult life is made up of conscious choices.
All right, good stuff. Margaret put a lot of research into this one and thought into it, thinking about it, putting this one together. And so we could, talk about it and discuss it because it is a theme that we have seen so often. We're here for coaching and talking about these issues. If you want to get our help personally, just go to my website, askcraig.net. You can sign up for the coaching option that works best for you. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Margaret is available for Skype coaching.
If you think I can be helpful to you, please sign up.
Just click on Margaret on the top of the website to do that, and Coach Victoria will continue to train with us.
I'll be here.
But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon. To get my help personally, go to askcraig.net and click on Schedule Coaching and choose the option that works best for you. I do email coaching or Skype. To schedule a coaching with Margaret, click on Margaret on the top of the page and order a Skype with her. For the Knowledge Creative Healing course, click on the link at the top of the page and click Get Started Now.